What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Johnny Mac here. Just wanted to give you a heads up that if you are looking for a community that is open to discussion as far as mentorship, conservation, the wild, becoming a better person, and all of that, there is a group for you on Facebook, and it is called Soul Seekers. Soul Seekers, we are all about making ourselves a better person. We're all about making sure hunting lasts for generations to come and encouraging people to get plugged in. Whether you are someone who has something to give or someone who needs to soak it up like a sponge, this is a community for you, and I strongly encourage you that if you're on Facebook to join Soul Seekers, and if you're not on Facebook, hop on there just for that group. It is only going to be as powerful as we all make it. And so just remember that life happens for you, it doesn't happen to you, and that you can't outgive good. You can't outgive good, people. I want you to understand that, and I want you to believe it, because when we believe that and we lead with courage and we lead with intention, lives are changed, lives are transformed, just like on this podcast, transformation through primal adventure. Be blessed. Enjoy this episode. Talk soon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soulful Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mac. Through this podcast, I'm on a mission to transform lives through primal adventure and to spread my mission of mentorship as conservation. This podcast is powered by Washington Backcountry, a resource for all hunters, both new and old. To find out more about Washington Backcountry, go to wabackcountry.com or search for Washington Backcountry on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. The Soulful Hunter Podcast is also proudly presented by the Crazy Elk Company. Based out of the state of Washington with products made in America, they are providing solutions with gear to problems you didn't even know you had. Their tag wallet is one of those solutions, and I had the pleasure of using it on all of my hunts this last year, and it is now a mainstay in my kill kit. The tag wallet is a water-resistant zippered pouch that comes with its own reusable zip ties to safely and securely store your notch tag for quick and easy access. For more information, go to crazyelkcompany.com and use the code SOULFUL with a capital S to save 20% at checkout. Be blessed, everyone, and as always, stay soulful. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by OnX Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is OnX Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, OnX Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust OnX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about OnX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soulful Hunter Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mac, and today I'm joined by a cool guy, a buddy that I met about a year ago. I've been following along on social media, a fellow podcaster, and someone who I got to meet in person for the very first time at the Western Hunt Expo this last February in Salt Lake City. That is Hunter McWaters of the Hunter's Quest podcast. Hunter, how you doing, brother?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's always great having you on. You're an amazing human being, and I always look forward to times when we get to talk. So, you just got back
I appreciate it.
from quite an adventure.
Yeah.
What were you up to?
Yeah, man. So, where to begin? So we did a 10-day bear hunt in Idaho, which I, for a couple of reasons, decided to drive from Virginia all the way out to Idaho, which is probably won't do that again. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But that was an adventure in itself. But So yeah, this off season, I kind of linked up with Brian Call. I did a podcast with Brian last year. We kind of connected, and we're talking video stuff and whatever. And keeping a long story short, basically, he wanted me to do some work for Gritty because he saw some of the stuff I've been doing and whatever. So my first film that I did in Kodiak, he actually ran it on his Gritty YouTube channel, which is awesome because it got way more views than it would have ever gotten on my channel because my channel's tiny. So if you're listening, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Um, but but anyway, so we linked up, and so I'm kind of doing some contracting work for Gritty as a filmer. On certain, sometimes if I have a tag, I'm able to hunt as well, which is really cool. Also editing. Um, so Brian wasn't actually on this trip. He was on another trip. He was in Alaska hunting grizzly. And while he was doing that, just so we could kind of divide and conquer and get some more content, myself, Mark Livesey, Ryan Lampers, and Brad Hunt, as well as another young videographer that Ryan is working with some named Chaim, we all went to Idaho and did a 10-day backcountry bear hunt. Brought llamas back there. We were about 9 miles back in. Yeah, it was an adventure, man, for sure. Very steep, rugged terrain. Tough hunt, rained a lot. But a good hunt.
Was that your first time hunting Idaho?
It was. It was my first time ever even being in Idaho. Which is crazy. But yeah, it was great. It was really cool. It was very
I want to hear more about this hunt, if as much as you can divulge. But dude,
yeah.
you drove from Virginia out to Idaho, and you're like, I probably want to do that again. What went down with that?
Okay, so the driving thing, for people who may not know, I just kind of this year went all in on the video and podcast content creation thing. So I don't need to work within the bounds of like vacation time anymore, which is good. But basically, I knew it was going to be a llama hunt. I knew we were going to have some flexibility in terms of bringing some extra stuff. It's, so I've done a decent amount of backcountry hunts, and I've done some filmed hunts. I haven't done a whole lot of 10-day completely backcountry filmed hunts. I've done a lot of base camp stuff or whatever. So all that being said was I'm still as far as on this trip, I was still kind of trying to figure out different gear items I wanted to use, different cameras, different lenses. Wasn't exactly sure 100% which things I might need. So I wanted some flexibility, and I hate flying. So I just threw like all my stuff in my truck and just drove out there. It is nice from a flexibility standpoint, and it's kind of cool if you got the time every now and then to drive across country. But I got a family, and it's just too much. I mean, it was 6 extra days on top of a 10-day hunt that I was gone just traveling. And the weird thing is I actually lost like a lot of fitness sitting in my car for 3 days on the either end. I mean, you don't think like 3 days is that big of a deal, but dude, I actually came back and like I had gained weight on this trip because I ate like for 3 humans for 6 days on either ends of the trip. So anyway, so that was interesting, and I'm still like coming back from that, but that's why I drove. But this fall when I got like hunts back to back and stuff, it just doesn't make any sense. I got to fly. So now I got my gear more dialed in, more kind of figured out exactly what I need and what I don't need, so I'll be good for the next one.
I love it. What can you share about that hunt? Obviously, it's film, so when are we gonna get to watch the films?
So I'm gonna start working on it on the series this week. So I don't have as soon as possible is when we want to get it out. So, probably early summer. It just depends. Basically, so Brian and Ryan and Mark, they're kind of going on different hunts throughout bear season. So they're gonna be pretty much gone like all of bear season. I think they're hunting like 30 days straight. But kind of what Brian told me was like as soon as you get back from this one, start working on the edit. So should be hopefully June, but we'll see how it goes. But it was a great hunt, man. we basically, like I said, Mark had llamas, so he was able to put in like a lot of our food and stuff like that. And, on the way out, some bears. And we hiked into a base camp. The first base camp was probably only like 4 miles in or something. And we were in a river basin. And so kind of the hunt consisted of getting, climbing up high in the mornings and just kind of glassing. And then we decided after about I guess it was the second day, Ryan shot a bear, which I was not there. We kind of split off where Brad was filming for Ryan mainly, and I was filming for Mark Livesey. And so then they shot a bear, I think the second day. Then we moved, I think on day 3 or 4. And then me and Mark shot a really, really pretty, like blonde black bear. I mean, really blonde. It was weird because so we have black bears out where I live, but they're all jet black. You don't ever see a color phase out here, and you hardly ever see bears. They're very reclusive around here and live in the swamps and stuff. Anyway, but so I'd never really seen that many color phase bears. So seeing that like blonde bear, that was really cool. And that one, man, that was an adventure. We climbed up about 700 feet, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, 700 feet, that's nothing." I'm talking 40, 50-degree angles, deadfall, like hell, 700 feet, not like, oh, just 700 feet. So we climb up 700 feet. We're gonna look around up in this basin, and we see a bear across the river from us. So, so we get some glass on it. We're looking at it. Mark decides because he's the only color phase he hasn't got yet was a blonde. So he's like, let's think about it. I was like, dude, let's go for it. Because at this point it is day 5, and wanted to film him shooting one, and then I wanted to shoot one. And so anyway, so we see this thing. We did make the call. So we dropped down about that original 700, about another, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet past that. Found a nice spot. We had to shoot. It was about a 350-yard shot, but it was across canyon. And yeah, so Mark dropped it. One shot, it just kind of went straight down. And but that's when it started. So he shot that bear at noon. And what we had to do was go back to camp, get the pack rafts. Then we had to bomb down this thing, which is probably another 500 or 600 feet, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, I'm talking on all fours steep sometimes, like pretty legit. And then we got to pack or blow up the pack rafts, which I had never used a pack raft before. Mark, I think, hadn't either, actually, which was so that was like a little bit. And the river, I mean, it wasn't going nuts like they were telling us it was last year, but it was, it wasn't like a peaceful, placid little stream. It was moving. So anyway, we raft across the river. Of course, I got to put all my camera gear away and all that, blow up the rafts, go across the river, then climb up this thing. And again, this is like extremely steep, deadfall, pretty dangerous climbing, literally climbing on all fours at times. And luckily we found that, not luckily, we had marked it very well and knew where it was, but we got to the bear, cleaned the bear, same thing, got to go down, raft across, and then we're going up with rafts and bear meat, probably around 100-pound packs. So it took us 8 hours. We shot that bear at 12. We didn't get back to camp with the meat till 8 p.m. that night, and we were just exhausted. So it was a day. It was a good day. It was a full day, and we weren't super. We were hoping to shoot a bear on our side of the river next time. I'll put it that way, but
right.
Yeah, so that's how that went down. But yeah, it's gonna be a great film, man. And then, I don't want to. You probably have more questions, but I almost got a really nice chocolate, like a big, nice bear. We found another bear on our side of the river. I spotted him, and it was my turn to shoot. So, we had him at 480, and I was like, I'm good out to about 500, but if we can close the distance, it's better. Plus, he was kind of moving off into some other brush and whatnot. So we got up there. I spotted him again miraculously, and he was only 100 yards from us. And we sat on this bear for literally 5 hours at 100 yards, just watching him. But he was bedded down. He'd wake up like every hour and just kind of like scratch his belly and then just pass back out. Thing was, like, we could only see part of his body, and it was like in some very thick brush. So there were several times where we were, it's kind of like, oh man, I think I can squeeze one in. But bottom line, it wasn't an ethical shot. He was laying down. We couldn't identify what part of body we were looking at, and it was through a heavy brush, so we decided not to shoot. And there's some things that I wish we could have done differently that probably could have maybe gotten that bear, tried a predator call or snuck around a different way. I'm not sure. It's all kind of, hindsight's 2020. We were really expecting this thing to stand up and kind of look around, just maybe after an hour or two, but he just would not get up. And then when he did, he got up for a half a second and he took one step directly towards me, which I was not expecting. So I got the full frontal, but just for literally like a half second. And then he just like, it looked like he went down a hole and he just disappeared in some brush and then he winded us and was out of there. So it was tough, man. I was really disappointed we didn't shoot that bear after 5 hours of camping on him, but it's all good. So that's how I almost got my bear.
That's tough, man. That's tough. And
Yeah, it
so
was.
so hunting goes, huh? Have you ever shot a
Yeah,
bear
that's
before?
right. I haven't, dude. That would have been my first bear. And so, the whole way home, I was sort of beating myself up a little bit. I think we did the right thing not taking that sketchy shot, to be honest, but you know how it is when you come out, you don't feel your tag. You're always playing that coulda, woulda, shoulda stuff and oh, I should have shot, because I had opportunity at one across the river too, but we were trying to find one on our side. And so there's definitely some things I would have done. I think I was telling you on the phone about it. Definitely some things I would have done differently if I could go back and do it again. But it's lessons learned. That's part of it.
Yeah, totally. How how far I mean, you said you were comfortable out to 500, but when you're actually on the train and on animals like this, 500 seems
Yeah.
like really far, or 450, or
Hmm.
like what you're looking at is like
Yeah.
a little more intimidating than what you would just think like.
Right. Because you're not like in a perfectly prone position on a level thing. It's like it's rugged.
Yeah. So you're a Virginia boy. Are you born and raised
Yeah.
in Virginia?
Actually, I was born in Tennessee, but yeah, grew up here since I was about 4 years old. I
Man.
mean, yeah.
And so here you are. You're really spreading your wings and going west quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
Have you always? Is this new, or has your hunting journey always been a part of going west?
No, man, it's very new actually. So, my dad started me out hunting when I was a little kid, 6 or 8 years old. I think I got my first shotgun when I was 8, but I shot my first dove. That was the first thing I ever shot was a dove. My dad took me, dove hunting, duck hunting, stuff like that to get me started. About 14, I started bow hunting. We got permission on a property out here, which is pretty much all we have is private land out here. So you got to basically know somebody or be in a club or something like that. Through a guy at church, I got permission to hunt this amazing piece of property on the eastern shore of Virginia, which is bow and shotgun only. So I really dove into bow hunting. I think I started when I was 13. I shot my first deer with my bow when I was 14. Um, so no stranger to, big game hunting and stuff like that, but that's all whitetail, Eastern. So, which I still like to do, but, I guess it was 3 years ago, a friend of a friend invited me to go to Alaska on a walk-in style caribou hunt. Um, and as you probably know, it's not always easy finding partners for some of these adventures. So I think he probably had sent out a message to like 10 different people, and I was just the guy who said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." So anyway, I said yes, and it was really interesting timing. I think it was the Lord's timing because that same year during the off season, I'd really decided, man, Western hunt is something I really want to get into. I'd heard some stories from this old timer I know and about going out and, elk hunting and mule deer hunting and stuff like, man, I really want to get into this. Because adventure and stuff like that's just something always been a part of me. Then I started looking into it and man, I don't know. Some people might know what I'm talking about. It's a little intimidating if you don't know anything. You start poking around on trying to get tags and draws and all. It's very intimidating if you don't have a systematic approach. Which there are great tools for that. But anyway, I kind of gave up, to be honest with you. I was like, whatever, I'll just deer hunt, whatever. And also at this time, I was pretty overweight and knew I knew that how physically tough it would be. So anyway, long story short, this guy invites me to Alaska. It was perfect timing. I was like, I can go with somebody who's done it before. It was an over the counter tag. So I said yes. Then I started realizing what I was getting myself into because this guy who invited me is former Navy Special Warfare. He's in really good shape. And he was kind of trying to sell me on the trip, it won't be that bad. Da, da, da. But then I started realizing, like, okay, we have to hike in like 5 to 7 miles over mountains with, 5 to 7 days worth of camp and food. Like, this is gonna be legit. So that's when I started diving in, man. Started diving into podcasts, YouTube, but mainly podcasts, to be honest with you. And started training, lost a ton of weight, got in really good shape. And then went on that first trip, and that thing was life changing. We didn't even kill anything. We almost did, but it was life changing. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do, because it combined my love of hunting that I already had, but brought in this new element of adventure and physical fitness and just a more active and more immersive experience. So I was kind of all in after the races after that. And after that, that's when I started the podcast. And it's just been kind of like, that's kind of my personality, man. Like, I get a hold of something and I just go full on it, And so that's what I did.
I hear you on that. My wife, she's always like, you'll do something until you're good enough or master it, and then you drop it and you move on to something else. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds about right.
Yeah. So
So
I'm hoping this one is more than a phase, but I think it is.
right. Well, it's an expensive phase if it's not.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself spiritually in Alaska, or find yourself connecting with God more, or like expand on that, because there has to be something more to this whole idea of the hunter's quest.
For sure,
I want
man.
to hear about it.
Yeah, man. So my faith has always been a part of my life. Actually, the two things that really are the longest, because I'm like that, like we just said, like I'll pick up something, I'll get good at it, whatever, and I'll drop it, or realize it's not for me and I'll move on. But there's two things in my life that have been constant, even through some really dark times that I went through, and that was my love of hunting and my faith. Even though, the way I was living, you wouldn't think my faith was really much of a part of my life. But um, and I think people who've heard my stuff before might know what I'm talking about, and if not, you can check it out. But I struggled with addiction in my past, and I mentioned I was overweight as well. But despite that, my faith has always been a part of my life. Um, so I guess at that point, so Alaska, definitely there was spiritual. I did connect. I was already, like, it wasn't in Alaska where I like had this spiritual awakening or anything like that. It was before that, but it was part of the process. Um, so basically, probably bad with dates, but maybe a couple years, 2 years or something before I went to Alaska, I had to go to rehab, um, get cleaned up, and also after that is when I gained a ton of weight. So I was already coming off of that, and like my faith and my spirituality was like being rejuvenated. I don't know what the word is, reborn. It almost feels like I got born again, which is weird. I don't know exactly theologically how that works, but anyway, so definitely did connect with God, and on all my hunts, I always find myself really falling. I always bring a Bible with me, a little tiny little Bible, and I often find myself falling back on the Word of God for comfort and encouragement when I'm out there when things aren't going well, or you know, some guys say they connect better with God in nature. I don't necessarily, and not that you don't, it's just that I feel like I am intentional about cultivating a connection with God every day. So it's not like that much different when I go into nature, but it's definitely, you know, a religious, or not religious. It's definitely a spiritual experience when you go out there. But anyway, when I got back, the whole tie into the hunter's quest is when I got back, um, I'd mentioned that podcasts were really important to how I learned a lot of stuff. And I had noticed a lot of guys in the space were believers or had some sort of faith. There's also a lot of LDS guys, honestly, in the hunting community and stuff, which is cool. But I noticed a lot of these guys were spiritual or had faith, but it was kind of it wasn't talked about much. It was sort of maybe slightly mentioned or whatnot. And some of the content that I really gravitated towards, because this was about more than just hunting for me. This was a whole life transformation. Like, I was coming out of this really dark time, and physically very out of shape time. So like it was kind of like I was being reborn physically, mentally, spiritually. So a lot of the content I was gravitating towards, even on hunting podcasts, was the kind of um, personal development, mental toughness kind of stuff that we got that is on a lot of these things that we like. And so I was like, man, there's great hunting content, there's great like mental and physical fitness content, but spirituality is missing from this equation, because I believe, as a human, we're a triune being, we're spirit, soul, and body. And so if you just spend all your time on your body and your soul, which most people would call your mind, and you neglect your spirit, something's going to be out of whack there. So I wanted to get some of these guys on here who are like big name guys, like a Dan Staton, who used to be a Young Life leader, or Adam Weatherby, who was a pastor for 14 years, and really draw out the faith and spirituality conversation, and have that conversation with guys, but also without being preachy, I guess. I mean, there are some other good Christian content, or podcasts and stuff out there, and those are great. They're awesome. They have their place. It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to have something that was enjoyable, and could add value to someone even who didn't have any faith or spirituality whatsoever. But also we talked about it. So it wouldn't like turn off someone who wasn't a Christian by listening, but at the same time, we're having those conversations. And like I said, I talk to LDS guys, I talk to Christian guys. I'm not afraid to talk about it with anybody. Even I think one of my guests was talking about, I asked her about it, and she was talking about like reading tarot cards and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. So it's just I wanted to bring spirituality into the space and have those conversations.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great uh what is it? What do artists paint on? Medium. It's a great
Canvas.
yeah, it's a great medium to like to talk about all these things and bring it together. I love it. So
Totally.
Hunter, what is this quest that you're on then? Well, you 3 years ago you went to Alaska, you did it, and now you're diving in. You're full go. Well, so
Yeah.
what were you doing before you were filming, and now you're planning on just going full go into the hunting world? Is that
Yeah.
how it's going?
Well, I do feel like this is I don't believe in accidents. I mean, like I said, I'm a man of faith, so I believe, God has a plan for you and has a plan for me, and that kind of thing. So, and that's where it's kind of cool seeing all this stuff come together, because um so before I got into this, I worked for the 700 Club. It's a national TV show. It used to be really popular. It's not really that popular anymore, except with old people, but it's on the Christian Broadcasting Network. And I went there and worked. I was a videographer for 5 years, and I was a producer for 7 years. And so, though it may not be a very popular show, the production quality is world class. I'm talking about I got trained to do interviews and to shoot video and to, like, cinematic reenactments, news, every type of video shooting there is. I got like amazing training. I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm tooting the horn of the people that trained me. I can set up a news style interview better than the 60 Minutes guys can. I can. Like, I look at their interviews, I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Why is that light there? Like, and again, that's not because I'm amazing. It's because I'm world class training, is all I'm trying to say. So I always was interested in video and stuff, and I got this world class training in shooting video, and then I was a producer writing scripts and learning how to edit and putting together TV pieces for 2 years. And then I felt like I was being called into ministry full time. because that's another passion of mine. Like I said, faith's been a big part of my life. So right around the time COVID started, I left CBN and went to my church to help them launch their online campus. Um, and that was more um, hosting in front of the camera type stuff. It was more production. So it's still in the same realm of kind of video production and this kind of stuff. And it gave me the ability to work from home and start this podcast. So that's where I feel like the Lord kind of has orchestrated what's going on to now I'm getting into this. And the only reason I've really gotten to where I am, to be honest with you, is because my background in production and my knowledge about cameras and editing and stuff like that, which is, a holdover from a previous career.
I love it. I'm going to pause
If
you
that
for
makes
a
sense.
second,
Yeah.
because my dog's bark. So here you are with a skill set that you got trained on by CBN and all that stuff. And so you found this passion for hunting and you're like, okay, there's more to it. I want to mesh my two loves or what,
Yeah.
what's your goal now?
Yeah.
2021 was
It's
like
funny,
a
man.
revolutionary year for you, right?
Yeah. So I was working for the church. I started the pod. I was like, I felt like this was I knew there was a lot of podcasts, but I felt like if I could have the spiritual conversation, it was something unique to where it was unique enough where it warranted starting a podcast, right? So um so that's where I started. And I didn't have huge aspirations for it really. I just felt like it was something I should do and wanted to do, so I just did it. That led to me having, and the great thing about podcasting is, as you know, not only are you creating content, but you're sitting there just networking and having an hour-long conversation with cool people and learning,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So after a year of doing it, I had met some really cool people. I'd made some cool connections. Dan Staten from Elk Shape hired me to come out and film for him. Because I told him, what my experience was and sent him a resume basically, and he just kind of hired me. And so I wasn't really even I kind of thought it was just like it was just a way to get my foot in the door. It was just a way to start something. I just felt like I should do it. And then my wife actually surprised me for Christmas with this trip to Kodiak that she and my buddy had been planning behind my back. She said I couldn't go back to Alaska 2 years in a row, or it wasn't going to work this year. And then I found out it was Christmas that she had like been working with my buddy and surprised me. So um, and still video wasn't even part of the equation. But then I was like, man, okay, I'm doing a podcast. Like, I know how to shoot good video. I think I can shoot a pretty good hunting video. I'm going to Kodiak. It's pretty epic spot. Like, I'd be stupid to not film this. Right. So
Right.
that was like my mind. That was my process, was just like, okay, I'm going to Kodiak. I know how to film. I'd be an idiot not to film this. So I bought a used A7S2 on Rock Slide for $800. And I rented some other gear and I just said, I'm going to film this, and filmed it, and it went really well. And we all three shot a buck. My buddy shot the 11th largest Sitka blacktail ever shot on Kodiak on record. On the last day, we had a double. So if you haven't seen that film yet, go to my YouTube or on the Gritty YouTube channel and check it out. It's really cool, or it's on Carbon. But anyway, it just worked out really well. And so after that, I had a really good time putting together the thing. And Brian from Gritty saw it, liked it, wanted to run it and kind of start working with me. So it just kind of, one thing led to another, just kind of doing one thing after the next. But now, since I'd seen the amount of traction I was getting in the first year, and kind of the connections I was making, is when I decided this year to go ahead and give it a shot. Because as it's very hard to go on multiple 10-day filmed hunts and all this stuff and try to juggle another job. Yeah,
And
it's pretty much impossible.
and
So,
juggling family life. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
dude.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, if you're working a full-time job and have kids and stuff, like one big trip a year is
Is it?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to do 4 or 5 10-day trips, like, that's gotta be your full-time thing, or there's no way you can make it. I mean, I don't think you can make it work.
Yeah, I talked to Ryan Lampers about this one time, and I think if his wife wasn't a doctor, it wouldn't have ever worked for
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
yeah, because my wife, she works. We have 3 little kids, and it's mostly weekend warrior stuff. Take off a Friday, take off a
Mhm.
Monday, leave on a Thursday night as soon as everyone's off work, and hit the road, sleep in the car, and like I come
Yeah.
back from my hunts more tired than I am, and my wife's looking at me like, "You've been the one away from the kids and all this stuff. You should be all rested." I'm like, "No, I'm exhausted," and it was awesome,
Right.
but it's full go, man, full go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you living in Virginia and filming for a lot of these hunts out west, how's that gonna work?
You know, flying a lot, I guess. Like I said, the driving is not gonna really pan out. I mean, um, yeah, I'm just gonna make it work. I mean, yeah, I'll just have to fly.
Yeah.
I
What
don't know.
what hunts do you have planned for this fall? What hunts do you have planned for
Um,
yourself, and then what hunts are you filming?
so at this point, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a cool hunt without filming it. But I'm doing some stuff for myself, and I'm doing some stuff with Gritty. So, um, this one was kind of as a contractor for Gritty. Whatever, what I produce will go on the Gritty channel. And so I'm working as like basically a contractor for Gritty on this bear hunt. I'm not sure about September. I'm still waiting on possibly long shot, maybe drawing something, but most likely, and it's on purpose, I will not draw anything for September. It's not really in my plan this year. I may go film for somebody. I might go film for Brad Hunt. He's got a pretty good tag, I think, for archery elk. Or I may do something else, some other kind of just paid filming gig. But I'm not sure yet. October, I'm going with Luke Dusenberry. I don't know if you know him, but amazing videographer. He's filmed for Gritty, he's filmed for Loophole, he's filmed for Mountain Ops. Like he's worked with Chad Mendez and Brian and Ryan. He's one of the best there is right now, actually. And a really awesome guy. You should have him on as a guest sometime.
I'll
But
look into it.
yeah. Anyway, me and him are gonna go do a hunt this October in Idaho. We both got deer tags. I have an elk tag as well. Not a whole lot of elk where we're going, but we'll see. So that'll be for me or for my channel, and I'm gonna probably try to pitch that to some places. I have a few places in mind that may be interested in it. Um, and then November, I got a Montana General deer tag. Still working out that. I might go with Brian and Ryan and those guys, but Mark's bringing his son this year, and Ryan always kind of hunts with Paley, his daughter. So it would be kind of a full group. We may share a base camp and split off. I may do my own thing and kind of produce something and for lack of better words, sell it to Brian and Gritty to use on his thing. I'm not exactly sure. One way or another, I'm going out to Montana to hunt deer. I don't know how the details are going to work on it in terms of production, but and then December taking off, and then I'll be editing. And then January, me, Brian, Ryan, and Brad are going to Mexico to hunt Coues deer.
Sweet.
So yeah. So that's what I got planned for this year. And I gotta tell you this one, because anyway, I'm not getting any younger and it's not getting any cheaper. So I have a friend, Ryan Bassham, who's a hunt consultant. He found me a spot. There's a cancellation, and I just grabbed it. I'm gonna kind of figure out how to make it work financially as we get closer. But I grabbed a spot for Doll sheep in 2023 in Alaska with the Rogue Expeditions. So I'm
So,
stoked on that.
sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
How long of a hunt is that?
10 days.
That's a 10-day hunt.
Hmm.
Man, that'll be fun. My plan, I've talked with my wife for my 40th birthday, which is in 2 years.
Okay.
I'm gonna do an Alaskan moose.
Okay.
That's what I
Nice.
want to do. I want to
Nice, man.
bring a bow, get in on it, and just
Oh, that'd be sick.
I know.
Yeah. Is that a guide required species? I don't remember. I don't think it
I
is
don't think
it?
it is. Um,
I don't think it is. I think you can do that one DIY if you want.
yeah. So we'll see.
That'd be cool, man.
We'll see what happens, man. This world is a wild world. Never know what's gonna happen the next 6 months. It seems like.
I know. That's why, like, I was always like, I'll sheep hunt one day, one day, one day. But literally, like, it's going up in price every single year a lot. And there are lots of talks about Alaskan doll sheep going to draw only for non-residents, like, in the next couple years.
Mm.
So, um, literally, like I said, like, it's not getting any cheaper. I'm not getting any younger, and it might go to all draw. Like, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna book this. Like, screw it. I'll figure it out later.
That's so
So
cool. Does your wife hunt?
I have taken her hunting a couple times. I got her a crossbow set up 2 years ago, and we did some, bow hunting whitetails out here. Um, so she will, and I wanna get her more into it. Like, when the kids get older, I'd like to do, like, an antelope hunt, something kinda relaxed. So she's open to it. She's not, like, big into it, but she will go with me sometimes, yeah.
I'm always trying to get my wife hunting. Babe, come on,
Yeah,
babe, come on. Well, she was actually supposed to go on a duck hunt with me, her very first hunt
okay.
this December here in Washington, and it was a blizzard, full on, like
Oh,
the
man.
entire state was
Yeah,
white, and just travel was treacherous and all that. And so it ended up getting
for sure.
canceled, and I was like, no. I was super
Yeah,
bummed. So also having three little kids, it's hard to get
it is.
childcare to just take your
Yeah,
wife hunting. So until they're of age,
it is.
she probably won't be going out very much.
Yeah.
So tell me
Yeah, we're
about,
lucky. My mother-in-law lives with us, so she can watch the kids a little bit. But anyway,
yeah,
what were
no,
we saying?
I was gonna say, tell me about your Wyoming antelope trip that you went on, because I'm actually heading
Oh yeah,
to Wyoming this next year. Um, or at
sweet.
least the plan is. I got enough points that I should have a pretty decent pick for antelope, and then I'm also putting in for
Cool.
mule deer at some point. But um, how'd that go? I
Nice.
mean, are you more or less just picking
That's
something
a
off
real
of Onyx and being like, let's just check it out?
Yeah, well, that's a really fun hunt. Actually on my YouTube channel, I have an entire video that goes through literally step by step how I got this tag and how I picked my unit. So if anyone's interested, it's actually one of my better performing ones, which is not saying a lot because like my channel's tiny. But go if you are interested in this in more detail, I do have a really cool video where I literally go step by step. And I use Go Hunt. Um, I don't have any deals with them or anything. That's what I use. They're really good, and like I'm friends with Trail over there, and like I can literally like text him or call him, and he'll like talk to me like before I even started a podcast. Like he would talk to me and help me out. He actually helped me find this unit I went to, which was not a crazy good unit or anything. It was I went in with 1 point. We did the special draw. I would recommend spending the extra and doing the special draw. It really increases your point or your odds of getting a good unit. If you got the extra cash, I would do it. But anyway, I went in with 1 point, and I took my cousin and my uncle, my dad, who they're like very casual hunters, But my uncle, this is like a bucket list thing for him. He really wanted to do it. Um, so yeah, I basically kind of have a way that I pick units. I basically look at, I put the filter on Go Hunt. Do you use Go Hunt?
I never have.
Oh, dude, you should get it. Anyway, I put the this is not like a plug. I don't get anything from them. It's just good. I put basically you can have the filters, right? And you can filter like, okay, what can I draw up to like 90 or 100%? What's 100% draw with 1 point? And then it'll show you all the units that are 100% draw with 1 point. And then you go through and you just I would look at a combination of things. I'd look at the success rates, obviously, but then I would look at the percentage of public land because some of them have tons of public land, some of them have very little, and some of it's also very landlocked. Um, so your big thing with antelope is access, is like because there's a lot of antelope, right? But can you get to them? is there enough public land? Um, so those are some of the things that I went through, and I go through all this in detail in that video if anybody wants to listen to it. Um, but then I just I had figured out maybe 4 or 5 units that looked pretty good to me with what I knew I could draw. And then I started just asking some people because I don't mind asking people for advice or opinions, but I want to do my homework first so they know, okay, I at least tried to look and like did something. I'm not just coming like, hey, where should I go? I like put in actual work and like, this is what I think looks good based on my research. What do you think of these? And then people are much more likely to be like, oh, yeah, yeah, I definitely, this is a good one. This one, nah. So after I'd identified my 4 or 5 good spots, I started asking some folks like Trail, Go Hunt, help me out a little bit. And he was like, yeah, I would check this out. Um, so there's definitely some good hunting to be had on low points. I'll show you mine. He's right here. I got this guy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he's 70-inch buck. He's got a broken cutter, but he's 70 inches, which is a nice little antelope. But it was, the pressure was a little heavy in my unit. I'll be honest with you. My cousin actually got an antelope too. He got a doe. It was any antelope unit. But one thing I'll say about that is, A, get off the roads a little bit. You're gonna decrease your pressure quite a bit. If you're willing to hike, which I know you're fine with. Um, but also like don't be too afraid of pressure. Like, obviously give people their like space, like the safety wise. But so we saw these antelope right here, up on this ridge, and then so we just took off up and just went to the top. As soon as I got up there, I saw 2 guys get in a side by side and drive off. And I was like, oh man, like we're done, like they're gone. What a waste, blah, da, da. Then we kind of just hung out for like 30, 40 minutes. And the antelope basically took a huge circle with the side by side and then just started coming back towards us. We didn't see them, of course, but so then we're walking kind of out of the area, sort of hunting our way out. And I look up and there's this doe just like staring at me. And I get down and get prone and then I pop a little bit up and there's the buck right there and got him. So all I'm trying to say is like, don't be too discouraged by the pressure because they kind of like just circle around. But it's a really fun hunt. We did it pretty easy because my dad and uncle, we stayed in town in Airbnb and we just drive out to the hunt area and just kind of day hunt and like it was pretty chill. It was really fun.
Sweet. That sounds like a hunt
Yeah.
my wife might like. Um,
Yeah, yeah. You can set up a nice base camp with a wall tent, or you can, like I said, you can stay in town in a lot of the units, not all of them, but a lot of units you can stay in a little town and just drive out. It was a lot of fun.
how far shots are you expecting to take on those?
Mine was only 220 yards. My cousin's was probably about the same, 200-ish. I mean, you know, that obviously different areas are gonna have different, terrain and different stuff like that. I'm not a super long, like I said, the county I grew up in, you couldn't hunt rifles. I didn't start shooting a rifle till 3 years ago. Like, 500 yards is like far for me. And out east, like that's really far. I know guys out west are like, oh yeah, shot this thing at 1200. Like that's not even on my radar. So I don't know. 500 is as far as I shoot pretty much right now.
Yeah.
And this guy was at 200. So
It's hard to find places that you can practice to shoot that far. That's one of the things
yeah,
I've just like, unless you're a member of some specific range or whatever, it's like you're not really
yeah.
getting out to shoot at long distances. Hunter,
I mean, 500 is far for me, man.
dude, it's far for it's far in general. Brother, is there
Yeah.
anything we're leaving on the table that I didn't get to cover with you? I'm really looking forward to what you're coming up with for this year, and it's really fun seeing your growth and your progress and everything in the hunting world.
Yeah, man.
From one podcaster to another, it's just a hoot to seeing everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and I'm glad that we finally got to connect to get you on the podcast. But
Yeah, me too, man.
anything you want to, any parting words you want to say for all the listeners?
I mean, God is good, life is good. Stay positive. Sometimes stuff gets rough, but just if you're in hell, just keep going and keep looking to God for your help and just enjoy life, you know? That's all I got to say, I guess.
I love it. I love
Life
it.
is good.
Where can people find your content at?
Yeah, so like I said, that video for my first hunt in Kodiak is really cool watch. It's on the Gritty YouTube channel or on Carbon or on my YouTube channel. So if you search my name, Hunter McWaters, McWaters, you'll find my YouTube channel. All the podcasts are there and all the extra videos I do. And then the podcast is anywhere, Apple or Spotify or whatnot. But yeah, definitely appreciate it if people would check it out.
Heck yeah, I love it. I love it. Guys, go check out Hunter's
I did have a guest on there one time named the Soulful Hunter too.
Dude, I heard he was all right.
Yeah.
He rants a little bit. That was a rough time in my life, big dog. There is a lot going down in the last year.
There was. That was like in the middle of COVID and you were having job stuff and yeah.
Yeah. Wife got diagnosed with lupus, all sorts of things. My dog died. I sounded like a country song. It was really like what
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with the dog dying, man.
No doubt.
That is rough though.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, thanks for your support, brother. Guys, listeners, go check out Hunter, the Hunter's Quest podcast. Go check out the films that he's putting out and give him a like, subscribe. Hunter, thank you so much for coming on this podcast, brother. As always, everybody.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Dude, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. We gotta keep this going. Guys, be blessed. Have a great day. Freedom on. And as always, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast, I'd love it if you could go ahead and give this a rating as well as subscribe. Also, you can check us out on Instagram under the Soulful Hunter Podcast. Make sure to tag us in pictures and posts and use the hashtag Soulful Hunter. To find out more about the Soulful Hunter Podcast, go to soulfulhunter.com and be sure to follow the podcast as we are going to be bringing you a lot of great information, insight, and changing lives through primal adventure. I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Stay tuned and stay soulful.